Hello and welcome to part 2 of the NAB AFL trade wrap. We're going through alphabetically all the clubs to let you know how your team fared at the conclusion of the trade period. We're up to Hawthorn and they were the story of the trade period. Out goes 2 champs and in comes 2 young mids. Nick, was the juice worth the squeeze?
Well, I think it was, Kel, but they were about 10 minutes away from absolute disaster if that O'Meara deal hadn't got done. But it did. They've now got him and Mitchell to come into the midfield, which I think will be fantastic. I think Vickery will be more handy than some people think.
What about this fella?
Oh, he's an absolute ripper, isn't he? I think that if he can get that knee right, Kel, and it's a really bad injury, that patella tendon, people around the industry think he could be absolutely anything, a top 5 player. So the Hawks will certainly be sweating on that. Tom Mitchell, we know, is a really, really very good inside midfielder.
He would have been relying on O'Meara as well because he needs another couple of quality midfielders around him. Good player.
Yeah, but at 23, he's healthy and he's at the peak of his career.
But they gave up so much.
They did, Kel, and I think, you know, both in terms of the draft, but the old players as well. And how much effect does that have on morale? We don't know.
We'll wait and see. What's your assessment?
It's a B. I think it was, in the end, a good period, but, geez, it had its ups and downs.
Very close to an A, I reckon. Melbourne has added some great experience with Jordan Lewis, former Hawk, and Michael Hibberd, but doesn't have much of a draft presence this year, Pete.
Well, it's fair enough. They've done a really good job in the last few years. They've had 2 top 10 picks in the last few years. Jordan Lewis almost landed in their lap, didn't he? His management came and approached Melbourne and they managed to get a deal done. They've basically picked up a 4-time premiership player with great leadership skills who everyone respects and admires for nothing. Really, they've put him on a 3-year deal, extended his career, and he'll be a great asset for all those young men.
Is he too old for them though, Pete?
No, nowhere near, because they haven't got a lot of old players. They've got Nathan Jones and Bernie Vince, who's in the last year of his contract, but they've got such a young, talented team who haven't played finals for a long time, so he's just the cherry on the top they need. Michael Hibberd, similarly, though, they targeted him a long way out, and they also get Jake Melsham, which we can't really mention, but they're virtually a recruit, so they've done a really good job.
Well, you've mentioned him there, so he's got a mention. I'm sure Jake will be happy.
Well, not part of this trade period.
Your grade?
A minus.
A minus for the Ds. Now, on to North Melbourne. The Roos added some youth, but lost more vital experience. Nick, how did you rate it?
Well, I think that they got some good bargains, Kel, didn't they? That they've improved the midfield with Paul Ahern now. He's another one that you want to see get over the injury. He's had the 2 ACLs this year. Nathan Rovat, I think, is a good player as well. Marley Williams goes into defence. So I think that there's some good bargains there. But I'd have to say that I would have loved to have seen them put a big name up for trade and try and get it into the draft.
Who would you have traded?
Early. I would have traded Todd Goldstein.
Okay. Top 10 picks?
Todd Goldstein?
Yes. Yes, I would have. Yep.
Your grade on the Roos?
Is a B minus.
B minus for the Roos. Now, on to Port Adelaide. An interesting one because they tried pretty hard, we think, to push out a big name, but in the end they just dealt in picks.
Well, once Hamish Hartlett decided that he was going nowhere, they were basically stymied from having much activity. They managed a few pick swaps. They've done a reasonable job. They've got 3 picks within 30, so that's a good job by Port Adelaide, but really they were ineffective and did not much.
All right, well, that doesn't sound like a good grade's coming.
Well, it's not necessarily they did anything wrong, but it's a D.
D for the power. Look,
yeah, I know, it's tough, but they needed first-round picks and they need to rebuild.
We'll see how they go with the selections next month. It's going to be a new-look Richmond side next year with ready-to-play midfielders coming in and a club champ exiting. What do you think, Nick?
Fantastic trade period for the Tigers, Cal. I think that for the first time they've landed a big name with Presti, which is great, but they've also backed that up with Josh Caddy and bolstered their ruck division with Nankervis. I think Deledio was the right time to get out. It was the right player to get out.
They did well to get a pick 4 and 2. They're a good pick.
Yeah, no, they did really well with that. And I think
what can Presti bring?
Presti just really adds to the midfield, doesn't he? I think he's a good inside midfielder, but I think he adds a little bit more run as well.
Geez, they made him sweat too. He agreed in August to go to the club, and probably yesterday it was done.
Yeah, no, they really did. But I think he takes the pressure off Koch and he takes the pressure off Martin. So
exactly the same role. Caddy will play as well. And they're really good mates, which is a great time to get him in the club. They're only sort of 23, 24.
The other point I'd make, Kel, is I reckon they would have been absolutely wrapped with the compensation pick they got for Ty Vickery.
Oh, yes, I agree. Wow. Your view?
One of the stars of the trade period, Kel, I give them an A.
Big A for Blair Hartley and the team at the Tigers. Now, St Kilda, I think these guys were some of the stars. They were busy. They brought in 2 midfielders and filled that key defensive hole that was probably lacking going into the trade period.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But the thing I like most about the Saints is they targeted Jack Steele, they targeted Kobe Stevens. They went late to get Nathan Brown, but they haven't paid much for him. They've got him on a 2-year deal. He fills a defensive role there, and that's really what they wanted to do. They've also got a future first-round pick with an amazing deal with Hawthorn, where they gave up a couple of second-round picks.
They'll be barracking for the Hawks to fall down the ladder.
Magician there, wasn't he?
Amit Baines did a great job, but they will barrack for the Hawks next year to go down the ladder, and that gives them a great position. So they're just building a strong, stable midfield, which is a really good performance from them.
All right, you've already pumped up Amit Baines, so what are you giving him in the team?
Well, I have to bring him down a peg. B+.
B+. Still pretty fair. I think they're pretty fair.
Yeah.
Now, on to the Sydney Swans. Nick, they couldn't hold on to Tom Mitchell. We've already said he ended up at the Hawks, but they do take some nice picks into next month's draft.
They do, Cal. Largely limited by the salary cap squeeze. They couldn't really do much, and Tom Mitchell was a casualty. I think Nankervis, probably the loss of him hurts their ruck depth a little bit.
They didn't want to lose him.
No, exactly right. So, but then again, they did well to trade up to pick 9. I would imagine, and you'd know a lot better than me, Cal, that they've got someone in mind at that selection.
Yep.
So that's reasonable. But it's been I suppose, a trade period limited by what they could do cap space wise.
Okay, in that sense, then, what's your view?
A C.
C for the Swannies. We're getting to the end now. Now, West Coast has to go down as a winner. I'm preempting what Pete's going to say here, but the addition of Sam Mitchell for next to nothing is just a brilliant couple of weeks.
Well, he's one of the great players of the modern era, isn't he, Cal? So Sam Mitchell, he comes in, probably only 1 or 2 years left of his playing career and then go into a coaching role. But what he'll add is just an incredible training ethic, a work ethic and an intelligence around football, both inside and outside the club, that will really add to that young group.
Is it worth getting him, though, when you've got Nick Nat out next year, Pete? Because, I mean, they're obviously gunning for a premiership, but can they win one without Nick Nat?
Well, that's still a good question, Nick, but he's really a player who can rove to any ruck. They haven't had great ruckmen at Hawthorn for a long time, and he's still been an absolute champion. So he'll allow guys like Gaff and so on to play more of an outside role. I'm not sure whether they can win a premiership with Sam Mitchell, but he certainly moves them closer to a premiership.
Okay, I'm expecting a good mark here, surely.
Well, I'll keep you suspense. A-.
A-.
Well done.
Very close to an A+, not quite there. The Bulldogs, they lost a premiership backman, but add a premiership forward. Your thoughts, Nick?
Well, Cal, when you're the reigning premier, you don't have to do much, and they really didn't, did they? I think that Cloak will add some value down forward if he can certainly get back to some of the better form that he had from years gone by.
Do they need him?
Questionable. I'm not sure, Pete, but then again, when you give up a pick as low as they did,
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. It becomes a bit academic. I think the one thing that we were all anticipating a play for a big-name player throughout the trade period. There were whispers persistently. They did make a late bid for Brett Delidio. They didn't get him, so it was just a bit of a non-event for the Dogs, but not really a concern.
Well, they get Stuart Cramery back and they get Robert Murphy.
Yeah,
back
exactly.
From injury, so they've got some things.
They're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Give the Dogs a grade.
I'm going to give them a C.
C.
C for the Premiers.
Yes, a C. for their trade period, not for their year. Come on.
The trade period's part of it.
Don't stir the pot.
Unbelievable.
Right. Now, before we finish, I want to hear who each of you think did the best overall and which team performed the worst. Pete, we'll start with you.
Well, I'd like to say GWS, but I think they have such a good hand
As
to
the
play.
best?
Yeah, they have got such a good hand to play with, though. It's a bit of a weak way to do it. I'd give Melbourne the best. They've just managed to get Jordan Lewis. They've done probably the groundwork to get to this point. Melbourne's and Kilda.
Melbourne the best.
All right.
Well,
really?
pegging.
You'll get your turn. You'll get
Yes,
your turn.
pegging.
And the worst?
The worst, unfortunately, look, it's 2. Adelaide, because they didn't get Bryce Gibbs despite making it very public that they wanted him. And Hawthorn, I just can't get my head around. I know the tactics right and I can understand the strategy, but losing Lewis and Mitchell, I'm not sure they wanted to lose both.
All right, here's you go, Nick. Best and worst of the trade period.
The best for me, Kel, is the Tigers. I think they've really bolstered the midfield, which is fantastic. Landed that big name, the recruit, that they haven't been able to in the past, and also bolstered the ruck division with Nankervis.
And go on. Who gets the dunce of trade period?
Well, I'm going to give it to the Bombers, and I know they're really well set up.
Bombers?
Yeah, the Bombers.
Jeez,
the Bombers.
they've been kicked enough.
No, because they just don't do anything. I think there was scope for them this year to investigate. You know, there was a lot of clubs with draft hands that they perhaps could have traded at pick number 1, and they got nothing else done, Kel, at a stage where I think that they could afford to get some deal done.
I think you're right. They've actually been definitive, which is good.
I agree. I think the opportunity to get 2 top 10 picks there was probably not taken. But that's it for us. Thanks, Nick and Pete, and well done for all your great work in the past few weeks. You deserve a rest. I'm sure you're going to have one in the next few weeks. For everyone else, make sure you continue to click back to afl.com.au for all your latest news, videos and updates, especially now as the attention turns to the 2016 NAB AFL draft in the coming weeks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.